Welcome to this session of our session on reading comprehension. This is a passage from one of the mocks a few years ago. One of the very important things about your attack strategy for reading comprehension is not only what you do but what you also leave out. It's very important that you pick the right passages to do. Not all of you will do all the passages. Most of us will do 4 out of 5 or 3 out of 5. So it's most important that we pick the passages which are the most productive for us. How exactly do you do that? Probably if you can look up the first paragraph and if you can mentally summarize what the author said, you should go ahead. Or otherwise, if you are not able to make head or tail of what the author is saying, it would be a good idea to go and take a look at some of the other passages. Let's assume that you started this passage, you kind of had a decent idea. Look at the keywords in the very first paragraph. It talks about development, talk about anti-terrorist measures, policing of streets, and hounding of fans and climate change protesters. Might be something that you might be familiar with, and if familiar with, or at least you're good with the language, and you decide to go ahead with it. Very important to keep linking these, like as if like you're making a necklace. Your RC necklace consists of the various paragraphs, though of course in the current CAT scenario it's not very relevant in terms of paragraphs, but more in terms of sentences and ideas, because you do not get more than say 2 or 3 paragraphs at all these days in the online CAT. You got to make sure that the sentences as they progress, they get knitted up into a necklace of sorts in your head, that one sentence leads to another, right? There's a logical extension. It's not just arbitrarily being said by the author. So he said, he underlined a danger, and then he talks about just as disturbing is the line of questioning. Then he talks about the police having a duty to investigate the alleged crime. So now you know that it's something to do with how crimes are solved or how the police approach a certain criminal situation. In the second paragraph, you have a couple of things that are real facts, like for example Financial Times. Make sure, file it away in your head. Sebastian Noakes. Who is he? A climate change skeptic and businessman. What did he say? He was interviewed by the officer who wanted to know various things. What computer he used, who was his ISP, which political parties he belonged to, what are feelings about climate change. The author then goes from there. So we said extension of anti-terrorist measures, line of questioning. Finally, the police have a duty to investigate the alleged crime. But this kind of questioning smacks of something far more sinister, is what the author feels. Then he goes about doing devil's advocate. Ki bhai, what else will the police do? However, then he gives a counter argument saying that he was not a suspect. He had simply sent an FOI request to the university asking whether scientists blah blah blah. And this was insufficient, he goes on to say in the next paragraph, for the police to examine him the way they did. Any future government must take a grip on the tendency of the police to, that's a recommendation made by him. And he talks about certain things that have happened in the past which are not appropriate as per the author. Finally, he sums it up and he says it adds up to the fact that this is a failure of the police in understanding the police force, that one of its primary duties is to protect and not to cause inconvenience. Question number 1, of course, which one of the best expresses the author's attitude, right? You will never be able to solve this on a solving basis. You'll have to eliminate and arrive. So when you're eliminating, always go down to the D and eliminate. Was he concerned about moral implications? Probably not. We could have a better answer. Does he question the legality of the questions? No. He didn't say that the police did not have a right to do that. Does he support Noakes? Nowhere has he said that. What he does say is that this is probably could lead to worse things to happen. And that's why A would probably be the best answer for this. What is the central theme, main idea? These kind of questions must get used to. I have a whole PDF which has just central theme questions. If you're interested, ping me and I'll send it across to you. What is it concerned about? What is the central theme? And most probably sometimes the central theme you'll find there in the first couple of paragraphs. If you go back and see, you will see it was there in the first sentence itself. The development underlines the great danger we face from the extension of anti-terrorist measures. And that's what it is most probably. Do we have a better answer anywhere? Role of police in democracy? No, hardly covered. Abuse of power by the police? Hardly covered. Use of abuse of power would entail a lot more, right, than what they have said. And say third degree torture, etc., etc. The use of the police to stem the opposition to the government's ideas? No. So we are left with B as an answer, the extension of the special powers of the police to questionable territory. And the author is least likely to support which of the following? So again, as I said, we'll have to eliminate this one. D, banning media coverage. Looks like that, because he would not like the police to encroach on the rights of the individual. But let's look at the other questions. C, political beliefs. I think it's okay. In a race, why would not done? Seizing the computer or mobile. I think it's okay. I don't think he objects to that. Tracking movements of a person accused of corporate fraud. I don't think he objects to that. He just says do not misuse it. So the one that he would definitely object to is banning media coverage of an event which is likely to get violent, because what he says is it has not yet happened. Let's not predict that it will happen. Let's not take the prediction as true.